So I'm traveling on the train the other day, and I managed to get some signal on my phone, and I kept seeing tweets like this. I don't know who this is. This is Ana Navarro, who is a CNN, ABC, Telemundo contributor, and they're saying things like, "This Stephen Miller guy is really creepy for real. He's going to turn off this press conference. It gives me the heebie-jeebies." And then John Fugelsang, who's a Page 6 TV, I don't know, another lefty thing.
He's a TYT guy.
Is he? Right, okay. Stephen Miller proves that if you don't want your new immigration plan to be called racist, don't let it be presented by a creepy racist. So, okay. And, I'm blocked by this person, so I can't even tell you what their fucking thing was. They must have blocked me in the time I found their tweets.
They're on to you, bro. They know what's going on.
How did they know? Right, and again, creepy white nationalist Trump aide Stephen Miller owns up to 15,000.
He's a Jew.
Is he?
He's a Jew, for Christ's sakes.
Dun dun dun. I have no idea, but this guy's from the Daily Beast, Wired, Foreign Policy. And, this guy, I think Stephen Miller is a warlock, but the creepy kind, so there could be, what is this, who is this creepy warlock? And so I realised that they were talking about his press conference, where he said this, and I'll just let it play through, we can pause it at points, because this is just the most amazing press conference I've ever seen. I'll leave a link in the description to the full thing for anyone who wants to see it, but you've seen it, haven't you, Louis?
Yeah, I watched the entire thing.
Was there anything irrational about what Stephen Miller was saying, in your opinion?
No.
In fact, it was all quite sensible and lucid, and as Miller himself points out, completely in line with Trump's policies, wasn't it?
Yes.
In fact, I'll play this clip first, because this is... It's so sensible.
Do a poll, ask these questions. Do you think we should favor applicants to our country who speaks English, yes or no? Do you think that we should make sure that workers who come into our country don't displace existing American workers? Do you think people who come into our country should receive welfare or be financially self-sufficient? Do you think we should prioritize people based on skill? Do you think that we should reduce overall net migration? Do you think we should have unlimited family chain migration? You ask any of these questions, look at the polls, look at the results you'll get in your own news organizations, they'll be very clear.
See, that to me was in no way racist, unless you think people outside the United States are just fundamentally inferior, completely idiotic, incapable of educating themselves or anything of the sort. I mean, what did you make of that?
The thing is, though, like, I don't even think that the journos and the pundits and all that are talking about this, if they do even genuinely believe what they're saying, and I question that based on what's been said, they're so hyperbolic about everything in terms of their reaction that it makes me question whether they actually even believe what they're saying. But nothing about this press conference was in any way overtly racist. It didn't even come close to being quote-unquote racist in any way, outside of what Jim Acosta said, which was, if not racist, bordering on racist.
Let's actually get to that. Can I?
Okay.
Let me.
But in either case, it's the fact is that
what you're proposing or what the president's proposing here does not sound like it's in keeping.
Right. Sorry. Start
again.
But
just to say really quick that this was a very sober issuing or presentation of this bill, and you can agree or disagree with it. That's the issue. But the issue is that it was presented in a way that was completely sober. And so the follow-up to what has been said is maybe to perhaps challenge the bill, but it's just being presented. You aren't actually looking at the details yet.
Oh, they're being unbelievably hyperbolic. I mean, Miller demonstrated a superb command of the facts. When, for example, someone was like, "Well, can you cite me 3 studies that show this?" He cited 5. He gave just a list, and he gave a list of other people who had, in respectable organizations, who had done the studies and found, yes, unsurprisingly, supply and demand even applies when you're dealing with people and jobs, and it depresses wages. And this is just common economic knowledge. This isn't some crazy white supremacist theory. This is just numbers. And yeah, I mean, he was, like you said, sober is the best way to put it. It was just completely by the numbers. Here are the facts. This is the policy, and as you saw in the clip a second ago, we're going to start. And he calls it an America First policy, which it absolutely is. Bringing people into your country not on the lottery basis that you currently have it, and to 1 million a year as well, but reducing it to 500.
The number he cites, it's like something like 45 million currently within the United States that are essentially on a visa or something within that status.
I can't remember what that number was off the top of my head.
We can get back to the number. I heard the number and I was shocked by it.
It's it's been something like 1 million a year for the past 10 years or something crazy like that, and it's just on a lottery system. There's no vetting on skill or ability, or even the ability to speak English, which I find baffling. But should we watch this exchange? This is the exchange that really that really hit the headlines.
Well, really quick before we get to it, really quick, I just want to say that once upon a time, not even once upon a time, less than 8 years ago, when people talked about immigration, there were times where you could hear people that wouldn't necessarily be from the right, so to say, where they would say things that people on the left could interpret as more nativist, or perhaps using like coded language to speak to a more nativist perspective. But in this presentation, there's absolutely none of it. There's no way to interpret any of this as right-wing attempts to close the borders. Like, that's not here. That's not what's being presented. But they're already jumping the gun to say that this is a white nationalist plan.
Oh, and yeah, we'll get to that if you want.
Okay, I guess we can get to it, but it's fucking absurd.
It's ridiculous, and it's highly amusing the way Miller caught. What was the chap's name?
Jim Acosta.
Yeah, that's it, Jim Acosta, when he was implying that. But the thing is, I mean, Trump's policy on immigration is completely in line. I mean, this is completely in line with, he even says this, completely in line with what Trump campaigned on, and it's highly approved of by the American public through all the polling data that they have, and this is consistent, and it's been like this since the 90s, when Bill Clinton was advocating for a border wall on the south of the US. And it's not in any way racial.
And the thing is, too, is they're trying to make this, like, they're continuing to try to combine the issue of legal status versus illegal status. And you'll see that everywhere when it comes to this. You'll see them just say immigrant. That's currently the talking point. Rather than distinguishing illegal from legal, they're just saying immigrant. When this is specifically to do with legal immigration status,
which is again another thing that the CNN reporter tries to conflate, and he calls him on it rightly so, saying, "Are you honestly saying you think a border wall is going to stop green card immigration?" Which obviously he's not. But
it's an obfuscation tactic. I've seen way too many people try to do this right now for it to be a mere coincidence.
I'm honestly wondering if it's not something to do with the media class's bubble, something to do with the fact that they are in this certain kind of bubble and they've just convinced each other. Because if you look at the way, you always get these tweets that about this sort of thing that get
the New York Times guy there as well. He went off as well.
Yeah, and they get thousands of retweets, and they're all saying the same things to each other. They're all reinforcing each other's perspective, and I honestly wonder how far from reality they are becoming detached. But anyway, let's have a look at this clip.
Proposing here, what the president is proposing here does not sound like it's in keeping with American tradition when it comes to immigration. The statute of liberty says you give your entire...
Okay, this is not 1859. This is not 1879. This is not the beginning of the 20th century. Okay, it has been 100 years since the first major wave, or one of the, I guess you could say, the major European wave of immigration. And before then, we didn't have any of the safety nets we have now, the social safety nets, such as welfare, Social Security, all the rest. We didn't have those social safety nets. And so we cannot bring in millions and millions of people and retain our social safety nets. We can't do that.
No,
it's one of the things. If you bring in your tired poor masses, or whatever the fucking quote is, the poem is, we can't afford it. We have all this infrastructure now. It's not possible in our current system.
Not only
It's
that,
just not possible.
like say around the turn of the 20th century, the United States was just a very different country anyway. I mean, it must have had a third or half of the population that it has now, and
our population has skyrocketed since that time.
Absolutely,
it's an unbelievable difference
because of mass immigration. And I mean,
it's actually because of industrialization. That's what changed this country so radically.
Yeah, but I mean, you have had huge immigration to the United States.
Yes.
But most of it was European, so it was fairly homogenous.
And we've had issues with Chinese immigrants and Asian immigrants.
Sure.
But if you look at the statistics of who prospers in the United States, better than white men by a stretch.
They're just below the Jews, yeah.
East Asians specifically.
Yeah, they're doing fantastically.
Not the British kind of Asian.
Yeah, no, not the British kind. But not only that. I mean, like, when did the United States actually finally conquer to California? It must have been sometime in the 19th century, right?
Yes.
Like finally,
it was definitely we already had things set up there. I believe even during the Civil War, but it was only after the Civil War, which was 1865. So about that period.
Yeah, because Geronimo was running around in what, the 1880s, 1890s.
Say that again. When it became a state?
Geronimo. The Native American guerrilla fighter. He was running around at the 1890s, I think it was. And so I mean, this people forget how little amount of time had actually passed to the point where we get, say, like 1903, which is when this is what he's referencing is the poem that was put on the Statue of Liberty. That was put on there in 1903, when the United States had effectively finished becoming the country it is now, and the stage was set.
I mean, yes and no, even if you want to count some of the latter states. There were still several states that had yet to be tacked on there.
Yeah, absolutely. But the United States was still forming, and we're 100+ years later, and it's not the same situation. So, and I find it amazing that this I know we keep delaying this, but before we go on, this was at the very end of this press conference. This was like the last or second to last question, when all other rational inquiry had been established, and Stephen had completely rebutted all of their points and said, no, that's not true, this is all completely sensible.
There wasn't anyone that raised a point that he didn't immediately knock down.
And in an incredibly professional manner as well, giving and directly addressing their points with exactly the answers that would just shut them up, because it seems that these people were looking for any and the guy, like, can you cite me 3 studies? I was like, why the hell should he have to? He's just
that was the New York Times guy, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was the chap just in the back here, actually.
Yes, the bald guy with the glasses.
Yeah, and you could tell it was just one of those, well, I'm going to bog you down in minutia now, those sort of questions, and he just rattled it off. He had no problem with it. And so it comes now to rhetoric and poetry, but let's play it.
Your huddled masses during the free. Doesn't say anything about speaking English or being able to be a computer programmer.
Pause.
Yeah, of course it doesn't.
In 1903, I just want to say really quickly.
Yeah.
But it's like, you're just I mean, this isn't even like an appeal to patriotism or something that would be part of the national identity, because you're just appealing to emotion. It's just the notion of
it's romantic.
The foreign savages we should be letting in. Like, that's the appeal, not from my perspective, from his perspective. And we'll get to that. We'll get to what he believes about foreigners.
But that's the thing. He's now citing poetry as the basis of policy. It's like, okay, that's great. Poetry that was written in, like, I don't know, 1870 or whenever this was written, and then
by a foreigner.
By a foreigner, yeah. And it's like that. That's great. That's really romantic. And someone, I can't remember who it was, I think it was this guy actually, said on Twitter that he's trying to bring America back to the 1800s. It's like, no, that's what you're doing. He's speaking very specifically to the problems that the United States has in 2017. And you've got, I had a look earlier, 7 out of 10 people in the United States, when polled, in favor of reducing legal immigration. So it's like, look, the situation has changed. People have voted for someone who is going to do something, and it's just the intelligentsia and the press class, the sort of verified liberals on Twitter who are against this. It's so weird. But anyway.
And they offer nothing of substance to say why they're against it. I mean, they can quote studies about economics, but as far as I can tell, like, and he says it himself that this has been tried for decades, and it has not actually resulted in any kind of boon for anyone other than, as Stephen says, the investor class.
Absolutely.
Those are the only people benefiting from this.
Yeah, and he directly addressed that as well, saying, well, look, we're just speaking to reality now. We've had a 1.5% growth rate for the past 10 years, massive amounts of immigration. Reality just doesn't bear this theory out. And he's correct, as far as I can tell. But anyway.
Yeah.
Aren't you trying to change what it means to be an immigrant coming into this country? If you're telling them you have to speak English, can't people learn how to speak English when they get here?
What an asinine thing to say. Why? Why not? Why not? What difference does it make if you say to them you just have to learn English before you come here?
How do you walk into a job? How do you get an education when all your professors speak English? You know, it's like, how do you manage to actually lift yourself up if you aren't somebody from 100 years ago who is faced with just, you know, nothing but like working in a factory for 12 hours a day until you keel over, get drunk, wake up again, and do the exact same fucking thing until you're 40 and die.
Yeah, I mean, what's he planning on doing?
We don't live in that country anymore.
Is he planning on having them being like railroad navvies or something? You know, you don't need to speak English, just dig this ditch. You know,
and the thing is that like 100 years ago, even when this was occurring, I mean, we had major issues, and anyone that's from any kind of major city like I am from Buffalo, there was insane segregation back then. And guess what? There were fucking gangs and people fighting it out on the fucking street for racial differences.
That doesn't fit into the romantic narrative, though. That doesn't. No. Look, he's talking about the beautiful oppressed soul of the huddled masses who need to come over to America because they're not going to be competing for his job because they don't speak English.
Right.
You know.
Well, first of all, right now, it's a requirement that to be naturalized. You have to speak English. So the notion that speaking English wouldn't be a part of our immigration systems would be actually very ahistorical. Secondly, I don't want to get off into a whole thing about history here, but the Statue of Liberty is a symbol of liberty enlightening the world. It's a symbol of American liberty lighting the world. The poem that you're referring to is added later is not actually part of the original Statue of Liberty, but more fundamentally, history. But more fundamentally, history
not represent.
I love that he's getting into the mythology of America now. You know, this is the sort of thing that Jordan Peterson would normally be talking about. But no, it's at a White House press briefing about the new policy on immigration.
I know. It's like they're actually getting into like a really, like, I don't even know how to regard it. It's just so like
inappropriate
at this point.
Yeah, it's so not your job to start telling us about.
I mean, they're literally talking about a bill, and they're getting into like esoteric philosophy about what it means.
It's not even that's the romanticism of it. It's just
I'm fine with the romanticism, but we're actually talking about a fucking policy.
Yeah, exactly. This is not the time or the place, and you're not the person to do it. You know, so why are you doing it?
I'm saying the notion.
Why is he so angry? I just can't understand why they're so angry that immigrants to the country will be required to speak English and have some kind of job prospect. You know, have an education, have a job lined up.
I mean, this is the thing, though. They used to try to use this issue and branch it out to be like, oh, this is nativism. Like, look at this naked nativism. But the issue is that the guy is raising specific points about why he doesn't like it, and Steven is turning around and just knocking them down.
Oh, yeah.
He continues on. Like, it's just water off a duck's ass. He doesn't care. It's like, no. And this is the thing. Like, he's not... Jim Acosta...
Yeah, sorry, hang on a second. Sorry.
He doesn't care. What?
Well, yeah, he just nails absolutely every point. But it's just... Maybe it's because I'm European and we don't have this history, but I'm just looking at this like... there is no good reason to just let in anyone from across the world, regardless of whether they're going to actually be good for your country or not. I mean, maybe that's a particularly European perspective, but I just can't see the benefit. And Stephen goes on about, Canada and Australia having points-based systems. Perfectly fair. Perfectly respectable things to have. I don't see a problem with that. And yet, look at this journalist's face. He can't believe what he's hearing.
Really quick before you move on, I just want to say that, one of the things that people have to address here is the fact that, 9/11 happened. And one of the consequences has been a total unequivocal reduction in civil liberties here in America. I mean, mass surveillance is just accepted at this point.
Oh, yeah. It is everywhere now. Yeah.
And the thing is that, and yet this is the thing we need to concern ourselves about. We don't need to look at WikiLeaks or what's going on with the CIA. We don't need to concern ourselves about any of that. It's about how many fucking, foreigners we have pouring into our country and why that should be a noble thing. That should be the thing we're concerned about.
The thing is, it's so bizarre because you can't save the world by simply letting them all into your country. I mean,
but that's an accepted norm with these people at this point.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
regardless of I look at Europe and I've become far harder on immigration than I used to be. Far more concerned and harder. And the reason for that is by watching unabrided masses pouring in and then having every possible evil thing happen. And then going, I don't want that happening here.
There are so many downsides to it. I don't even know where to begin. But, I mean, it is a form of class warfare, which doesn't surprise me why the elite classes who go to White House press briefings have no conception of how this affects working class communities. But it's not just economic. There are a whole host of social problems that come along with this. And like you're saying, gangs, it doesn't even matter. We're not talking about Muslims here. We're talking about just ethnic gangs because these people can speak each other's language. They speak the same language. They have the same culture. They tend to congregate together. It's just normal.
There's an issue of communication with other people that are not the same as you.
Especially if you don't make sure they all speak English. If they can't even communicate with each other, and then it's the native population who have to deal with this. They're like, okay, great, brilliant. The consequence of mass immigration is loads of foreigners fighting each other. We get a problem with Romanians and Muslims fighting each other in Britain these days. They hate each other, and it's like, okay, great. Muslims and Jews, they hate each other. Okay, great. All of these problems that have come in because we just opened our borders. It wasn't a good idea. But anyway, let's carry on.
Jim, let me ask you a question.
That sounds like some national park revisionism.
No. I'm asking you. Jim, let me ask you a question.
Hope to the world.
Jim.
Oh, the Statue of Liberty. It's a beacon of hope to the world now. So open the borders.
I just like the laughter in the background, especially a New York Times guy. Like, tell him, Jim. Tell him. He doesn't understand.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly what we relate to in our Manhattan soiree.
Yeah, we've got a romantic narrative we're pushing here, Stephen. Excuse me, we're not interested in your reality.
Jim, do you believe? Jim,
and they're not always going to speak English.
Jim, do you believe
it's going to be highly skilled?
They are always going to speak English. If you make them only speak English, only English speakers come to a country, they will then always speak English. What's the problem? I just can't see the argument.
The thing is, every job that I can imagine where you could take an immigrant or a migrant into the country who doesn't speak English and have a job, the job that they would be taking would be a job that doesn't require direct communication, which would probably be labor. But even there'd be a major, especially if it's heavy in industry, there's a huge issue with communication there. So it's like you would be taking people that haven't adjusted to the country, that are coming into the country, that don't speak the language, that you're then putting in a job that's probably going to be labor, physical labor.
They're probably going to be
exploited.
exploited.
To be a direct threat because they need that communication to understand what's happening around them.
But these people are probably also going to be exploited because who are they going to complain to?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that's the whole fucking thing. I mean, the whole angle about immigration, and this is one of the things that pisses me off about progressives, is that they're not willing to address the fact that this does have consequences, and that who directly benefits from this isn't just the immigrants coming in, it's those exploiting them, which are all corporate fucking dickheads.
And another thing,
when he says that the people benefiting from this are the investor class, I would just say it's the shareholder class, which is ultimately the same thing. There's no real distinction there to that degree.
So
we agree.
Is.
We agree on that.
And it's not just that, it's also this sort of the progressive lovies who benefit because they get saying, well, weren't we progressive? They get to get virtue points among themselves. But the thing is, you've got to understand, it depresses wages to just increase the supply of labor. So every new immigrant hurts the prospects of the previous one that came in. So you're not even protecting those immigrants who came in. And then, I mean, and again, we're not even going into the detail of the social problems that come along with it, which will be hurting other communities anyway. But anyway, let's carry on.
One second. I'm going to follow up on what you just said, because I said it before we started this, that one of the big people, or one of the groups that I want to see what happens as a direct result of this, because there is going to be a conflict between ideology of the top members, because they're all cynical Democrats that just want to go along with the party, versus the people at the bottom. Because as far as I can tell, this is something that's going to be good for unions, especially for construction unions.
Yeah.
You know, anyone related to construction. So I'm going to be very curious to see who actually endorses this bill and where the unions are going to go. Because when rubber hits the road, you know, this is the kind of thing where I want to see what happens, because it may wind up where you see a lot of fucking people like Trumpka at the head of the AFL-CIO, where he might just fucking go if he doesn't go along with this kind of thing, because you're going to have a lot of pressure from down below, the members saying, like, listen, okay, this is going to help us. This is going to help us get contracts.
We want to reduce it. Yeah.
Jim, I appreciate your speech. Jim, I appreciate your speech. So let's talk about this. Jim, let's talk about this. In 1970, when we let in 300,000 people a year, was that violating or not violating the Statute of Liberty law of the land? In the 1990s, when it was half a million a year, was it violating or not violating the Statute of Liberty law of the land?
Was it violating?
When it was 700,000 a year, no, tell me what years meet Jim Acosta's definition of the Statute of Liberty, home law of the land. So you're saying a million a year is the Statute of Liberty number. 900,000 violates it, 800,000 violates it.
Jim. One for English philosophy here, immigration, and that's never.
He's the one that introduced this. He's the one that introduced the fucking argument, and he's just flat out asking him, okay, what you are introducing this subjective horseshit into what is a policy? Just name me what is the acceptable level to your subjective standard. And the guy just sits there like a fucking retard and pretends as though he doesn't understand the question, or maybe he doesn't.
I don't think he's pretending. I mean, he sat there then, like, just trying to obfuscate. Again, I honestly don't think he understands what the guy's saying.
And he condemns him to say that you're like, oh, you're introducing this philosophical subjective standard. No, you fucking
You're
asshole.
doing it.
That's what you did. That's what you did. You introduced the subjective element to what is just a law.
Yeah.
God, or a bill, rather.
A policy, yeah.
What the United States has been about.
Your statement's also shockingly ahistorical in another respect too. Which if you look at the history of immigration, it's actually ebbed and flowed. We've had periods of very large waves, followed by periods of less immigration and more immigration. And
can you pause it really quick?
Yeah.
The United States, for like about 100 and something years, I had to look back, in Wikipedia to see, but for 100 and so years, the United States was an overtly isolationist nation.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't take in that many people. And when we did, like when we brought in, I forget when it was, but we brought in a wave of German immigrants. And there was a lot of anti-immigrant sentiment because of that.
But the reason you expand it and contract it is so that the immigrants who have arrived can naturalize. So they can become U.S. citizens.
And pursue prosperity.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
The other element to this.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's so you're actually managing to maintain the sort of the cultural narrative of the United States and gives these people time to acclimatize and accept it and adopt it as their own. It's so weird. He's just like, just open the borders. And I mean, he won't say it, but Miller calls him on it anyway. But let's carry on until he does.
And during the
we've had a period of immigration right now. Wants to build. It's actually about a sweeping change.
Surely, Jim, you don't actually think that a wall affects green card policy. You couldn't possibly believe that, do you? Actually,
look at his face. He doesn't know what to say to that. Why did I bring up the wall? Why did I bring up the wall?
It may even be a position where he himself doesn't understand that this is the accepted narrative, that you conflate the two. He might not even realize it, but that is the accepted narrative by these people at this point. That you conflate legal and illegal immigration.
It's so bizarre, though. I mean, why would he bring up the wall? I'm sure he doesn't know. I mean, maybe he doesn't even realize he brought the wall up. Maybe he just...
I think he does to some degree. He definitely looks confused after, like, oh shit. Like, he has that kind of face when he says it after this Steven guy starts to respond. But the issue is that, like, I do think these people are in the position where they don't, like, they may even be to the point where they themselves don't believe in such a thing as an illegal immigrant, that they don't believe in citizenship at all. Because those people do exist.
That absolutely could be. I mean, these people could be, no person is illegal hashtag users, But anyway, yeah.
Notion that you actually think immigration is a historic law. The foreign-born population of the United States today. Jim.
Talking about how border crossings.
Do you really? I want to be serious.
Border crossings. What? He's talking about illegal immigration now. He's talking about people creeping across the border, and he's conflating with people applying legally and getting green cards.
Yeah. So I guess it wasn't a confusion because he reintroduces it, despite the fact that he just got knocked down.
I don't think he understands the difference in the concept, and I love Miller's response. He's just like, "What are you doing?"
Jim, do you really at CNN not know the difference between green card policy and illegal immigration? I mean, you really don't know that.
Came to this country in 1962, right before the Cuban Missile Crisis, and obtained a green card. Yes. People who eventually...
Jim, as a factual question, Jim, as a factual question.
Wait, did he say, hang on a second, did he say right before the Cuban Missile Crisis? That was in 1961.
So, what difference that makes, sorry?
He said 1963 was the Cuban before the Cuban Missile Crisis. I guess it's just kind of a trivia thing.
Yeah. It's not too much of a big deal.
Obtain a green card at some point. They do it through a lot of hard work, and yes, they may learn English as a second language later on in life. But this whole notion of, well, they could learn, they have to learn English before they get to the United States. Are we just going to bring in people from Great Britain and Australia?
Right. That was the dynamite moment.
Oh my god.
That is so perfect. I'm just going to bring up Wikipedia. Thank you very much. So these are countries with English as an official language. You'll notice that half of Africa has English as an official language. India has English as an official language. English is spoken by something like 1.5 billion people around the world. And the populations of Britain and Australia don't even make 100 million. So... I mean, this was just the most stupid thing that he could have said, and I bet he's bloody kicking himself after it. But I bet
you he isn't. I bet you he isn't.
He bloody should be, because that was a ridiculous thing to say. I mean, but not only that, Miller goes on to explain the problem with this, but it really is such a stereotypical view of people in just not even in the third world, just outside of the Anglosphere at this point. He is just assuming that they are all illiterate, incompetent.
Yes. And that's what I mean, like it's this position where he's literally saying don't you understand that the rest of the world are fucking illiterate savages? Don't you understand that, you racist?
Don't you understand this is the white man's burden?
Seriously,
I know.
That's the perspective.
I know.
It's the progressive's it's the progressive man's burden. I swear to God, I titled the video that. I called the video because it's so fucking insane. How little these people think of foreigners.
Yes.
How little.
Yeah, like they can't speak English. It's like, dipshit. My sister spent 2 years in South Korea teaching English, being well paid for it, and teaching the kids English because they wanted to learn English. My God, now they can move to the United States. It's
and there's all these different initiatives all over the world, but especially in East Asia right now, where they are literally training their own citizens to learn English because, especially in China, because of the trade.
Absolutely.
That's going on.
And because it's the lingua franca of the world. It makes sense to learn English because everyone's speaking it, especially in business. And if you want to go to some of the richest, most powerful countries in the world, it's not just that, I went to Oktoberfest in 2009 now, And one of the things I noticed is that literally everyone from all over Europe that I met there and I spoke to, they all spoke English. I didn't meet a single person who didn't speak English. And obviously you've got like Dutch people, French people, Polish people, all speaking to each other in English. You know, and I mean, these are white Europeans, of course they can afford it. But you know, it's like India's official language is English. Fucking, I just can't get over it. I'm
pretty sure they just live in the ditches and mud huts over there.
Yeah.
That's what progressives have told me.
And it's just like the alt-right view of Africa, isn't it? Oh, they're all in mud huts. It's like, yeah, no, they're not, actually. You know, something like 80% of Nigerian immigrants to the US have a degree. Yeah. They have universities out there, my friends. You know, they're actually... It's amazing how... They've got mobile phones, too. Like the internet. Just...
Before we continue on, I just want to give a trivia update. The Cuban Missile Crisis was actually in October of 1962.
Right. Okay. That's very interesting. But anyway, yeah. So Stephen Miller, he actually nails this. This is great.
Yeah. Actually, I have to honestly say, I am shocked at your statement that you think that only people from Great Britain and Australia would know English. Actually, it reveals your cosmopolitan bias to a shocking degree. That in your mind, no, this is an amazing moment. This is an amazing moment that you think only people from Great Britain or Australia would speak English. It's so insulting to millions of hardworking immigrants who do speak English from all over the world. Jim, have you honestly never met an immigrant from another country who speaks English outside of Great Britain and Australia? Is that your personal experience? But that's not what you said, and it shows your cosmopolitan bias.
See, I love that he hammers him on this point. He just absolutely sledgehammers him.
Anyone that works, especially I live in a border town, and I've worked in retail. You will meet people from all over this earth that are tourists that speak fluent English. Mm-hmm. So again, like this, it's just bizarre. Like he says cosmopolitan, I would say bourgeois. I would say that in terms of what the bubble he's living in, because this is a guy that doesn't actually meet immigrants, that aren't pundits on television or fucking whatever, or commentators. Mm-hmm. They're already in his industry. Because I guarantee you, outside of other media dickheads, journalists, and politicians, that's all he knows. That's his entire circle.
Well, when is this guy ever going to meet an immigrant from Asia, from like Pakistan or from India or from sub-Saharan Africa? When is he ever going to meet one of those people? Never. He's not going to know any of these people. Why would he? And Miller was absolutely right to just call him on it and point out that, look, this is you and your bourgeois bubble, your cosmopolitan bubble. You know, you are used to being a coastal elite, and the rest of the world is not like you. You know, that's the main thing to take. And honestly, it's so great to have him just nail him. It's
like the guy, this guy, Jim Acosta, like he is so used to the position of the most interaction he probably has with foreigners or people that have come into this nation is, and I honestly mean this, going to restaurants, eating, and then leaving. That's the most experience he has with foreigners. That's it. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, and then it's not like he has a conversation with any of these people. So
no, he just snaps his fingers and bring me more wine, bring me more sake. Like that's his experience.
And then leaves a stingy tip probably.
Yes. Yeah. I don't even say this to generalize these kind of people, but they do it to themselves. Like, find me one of these kind of people that are not just part of this smug aristocracy.
Yeah, condescending
they are rich
jerks.
As shit, and they have no understanding of everyone else. Where it's like, I have to live in a community where there is complete and utter segregation and poverty. I looked this up the other day. Buffalo, which I live less than 20 miles from, is one of the poorest cities in the entire United States. And you have people like this saying, oh no, why? There's an entire op-ed in the New York Times. Why don't we flood Buffalo with a wave of migrants? And it's like, really? You're not going to fucking live there. You're gonna say that, writing that on your app, your Mac. Yeah. In your fucking Manhattan apartment.
Yeah. Or maybe in a fancy coffee shop.
Deal with the consequences.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. These people are completely divorced from the consequences of the things they advocate for, and they've got this in their mind that this is the moral good as well. It is the morally upstanding and righteous thing to desire and try and inflict these things on other people.
Yes.
Okay, we'll carry on a second, because Miller, again, he really nails this, actually.
Sounds like you're trying to engineer racial and ethnic flow of people into this country.
Oh my god, okay, yeah. Engineer the racial and ethnic flow. Again, you may as well just be saying they're coming from Britain and Australia. If you are just saying the same thing again. I love Miller's smile. He's just
is a racist statement.
Yes. Yeah, the brown folk are too dumb to speak English. They're obviously backwards. They're living in mud huts.
No, and the thing is, he is seeing it from the perspective of literally, and it's not just that. It's like, if you are not white, you either can't learn English or don't know English.
Yeah.
And even if you don't want to go as far as to say that was a racist statement, the implications for that being a racist perspective are there. Like, you literally look down on the majority of the world. It's insane.
It's hugely stereotypical. It's you are viewing these countries as stereotypes.
I love the smug smile on Steven's face, because he's like, man, he's got to be thinking like, wow, this is great.
Yeah, but it's not every day you get given such a golden opportunity.
Yeah.
To really give the whole press class a slap in the face for being such a bunch of generalizing racists.
The criticism I make, this is the criticism I make against Kyle Kulinski, is that, it's from the progressive mindset, I'm not surprised that you don't have more overt idea of humanitarian efforts in the world. We need to go out and conquer a nation because they're savages. I mean, we're bringing the progressive enlightenment to the foreign world. That's what we're doing here.
They really do consider it the new white man's burden, the progressive man's burden. I can't think of a better way of describing it. They literally think that it's their job to help these people, and the only way they can do it is by having them move into low-income areas of the United States, which helps nobody. And so, anyway, let's let Stephen continue shredding this guy.
That is one of the most outrageous, insulting, ignorant, and foolish things you've ever said, and for you that's still a really...
I love the way he gets distracted there, because he was just about to get into it, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Just and for you...
I think he was about to lose his shit there for a second, too, and just rip into him.
Yeah, it's a good thing someone else...
Face. That is the face of somebody that is not fucking listening.
Yeah. No, he's already made his judgment. Well, turns out Stephen Miller's a white supremacist. It's like... Dude, you're the guy who thinks that white people are fundamentally better than the rest of the world. You're the guy who thinks that.
Literally. They're just illiterate, fucking uneducated savages. They don't speak our language.
It's still chucking spears at each other. It's still cannibalizing each other, probably.
100 years ago, this guy be burning a cross.
100 years ago, he'd be putting the Indian slaves to work at building a bridge or something, saying, "Well, it's all they're capable of, really." It's for their own good.
Understand, man, that these fucking savages overseas, they're not like a white man. They don't actually understand the language that you and I speak. It's if you get into the phonetics of it, you just got to look at their dimples and their skulls. These are the kind of people that it's like. We're just trying to better the world. Can't you understand that?
Literally, that is his opinion. Let's finish this bit.
The notion that you think that this is a racist bill is so wrong and so insulting.
Yes, you did.
The reality is that the...
He absolutely did.
He just said that you're trying to make this through ethnic lines. That is your goal.
Racially engineer this. It's like... Anyone can learn English. Literally anyone can learn English.
He is absolutely implying this bill as white nationalist. That is actively what he's implying.
Yes.
This bill is, which it absolutely fucking isn't.
No. No, it's pro-American. It's not white nationalist, and there's a very, very big distinction between the two.
Foreign-born population into our country has quadrupled since 1970. That's a fact. It's been mostly driven by green card policy. Now, this bill allows for immediate nuclear family members to come into the country, much as they would today, and then it adds an additional point-based system. The people who've been hurt the most, the people who've been hurt the most by the policy you're advocating are apparently just unfettered, uncontrolled migration. The people who've been hurt the most.
See, he doesn't contradict him on that. He doesn't say no, I don't.
Denied. That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't want unfettered immigration. No, actually, I do. That's exactly what I want. Fair enough. You got me. Carry on. You know, God, these people are insufferable.
He doesn't even shake his head. Like,
no, he nods.
No, like, immediate,
he nods.
Natural reaction. Like, no, that's not what I believe. He just sits there.
Yeah, he kind of gave him a nod. Look, I'll show you.
Apparently, just unfettered, uncontrolled migration. The people who've been hurt the most.
See?
Whoa, you're right. He did not. God.
He just. Well, yeah, that is what I think. You know, I mean, I didn't realize it was that transparent, but okay. You know.
Oh my God, this guy is like a fucking like insanely. This guy like legitimately is like a fucking John Lennon singing fucking globalist nightmare lunatic.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And again, I really think it's about the bubble because, man, when I went to LA, you could tell that people in LA were not like people elsewhere in the world. You know, I've traveled quite a lot, and there was definitely a sort of attitude just when you were just in a bar talking to people. They have different perspectives on the world, and I swear to God, it's where and it's all the people around them all hold the same opinions, and they are not the sort of opinions that the sort of not in necessarily working class, just the rest of the world hold. These people are just insulated. That's the best way I can describe it.
He's probably I'm not sure where Jim Acosta's from, but I would bet he's probably somewhere close to, like, you know, Boston, in rich parts of Boston, New York City, you know, just I'd be amazed if he was from a fucking working class background. I'd be amazed.
Same here, but let's finish it.
The people who've been hurt the most by the policy that you're advocating are immigrant workers and minority workers and African American workers and Hispanic workers.
Good
and
point
then
to
there's
end
this
on.
fucking mouthy black woman in the audience like, are you talking about black women again?
Yeah, exactly. Well,
she got mad at him twice for just mentioning black people.
As the representative of black people here, let me tell you.
Excuse me, I'm a black woman. You need to listen to me. It's like, God, man,
but
shut up.
He's absolutely right. I mean, like, these people are on the lower end of the income spectrum. So yeah, of course, if you're going to, I mean, you're giving them competition for their own jobs and saying that it's somehow for their own good, and it's almost like a form of gaslighting. It's like, no, I don't know why you would say this to them. And then when they're complaining, not just them, but when people are complaining, well, hey, look, immigration really is becoming a problem. You're like, well, that's racism, or that's white supremacy. And in fact, let's get into the white supremacy. I mean, look at this sort of shit. Yeah. That's the Anne Frank censor.
I'm gonna look it up because I think Stephen Miller is Jewish.
Probably, but like Stephen Miller has turned himself simultaneously into a statue of arrogance and a national monument of ignorance, said Stephen Goldstein, executive director of the Anne Frank Center for Mutual Respect. His subpar knowledge of American history, as reflected in Emma Lazarus' poem, means he couldn't pass President Trump's new immigration test. Therefore, Stephen, please leave. That is just being a bitch. He's not demonstrating any subpar knowledge. What are you talking about?
He's a good friend of apparently Steve Bannon.
Oh, of course he is, and that's obviously a major problem. But yeah, all it was then. I mean, none of them were contradicting what he was actually saying, any of the facts he would give, any of the assertions he was making. They were just insulting him at this point, you know. And like, you know, I can picture Stephen Miller dating Salma Hayek more easily than I can picture him doing any physical work at all. Oh, sorry, Erin, Gloria, and Ryan, you work for what? You write for the Daily Beast, GirlFridayCastandCafe.com. Yeah. And as seen on Jezebel.com. Yeah, tell me about physical work, Erin. Tell me about it. Well, how much do you do? Holy shit, these people are insufferable. But it was constant, just constant. And like, he's like Goebbels now. You know, it's just like, they just.
You know what's amazing? Have you seen this? I just looked it up. Apparently, he was actually a good friend and went to Duke University with Richard Spencer.
I have actually, I have something about that in a second, but yeah, okay. I mean, this is obviously getting onto the white nationalist with, of course, another verified liberal journo. So white nationalist talking point. Oh, this is what white nationalism. He is what white nationalism looks like in 2017. It's not KKK rallies and hoods. It's well-spoken, educated bigots in suits. Sorry, who are you? Who are you? Oh. You're founder of therightpitch.com. Never heard of it. But Ebony, Teen Vogue, Fusion, Essence, Washington Post. Fucking hell. These people are just a class of insufferable idiots who have no idea what they're talking about. And
I just confirmed Stephen Miller is actually a liberal Jew from Santa Monica, California.
So yeah, good thing comparing him to Goebbels. There's nothing wrong with this.
And that's the thing. It's like, I mean, I don't even want to say, go there and say how offensive that is, but to me that's offensive.
It is offensive.
To call a Jew a Nazi or to compare him to a Nazi, I find that to be incredibly offensive.
It is likely that someone in Stephen Miller's family was killed by the Nazis, yes. Don't worry about it. But I love this. Stephen Miller has resting evil face. Oh, that's a really great criticism of the valid points he was making, Aparna. Well done. It's just you being a bitch. It's not like anything about anything that he has said. The un-American remarks by Stephen Miller on the Statue of Liberty suggest that when he says "Make America Great Again," he means the 1800s. No, that's the opinion of the people referring to the poem on the statue. That's literally what they want, is to go back to the 1800s, where America was, sparsely populated, land of opportunity, no huge welfare state.
Society, not
exactly.
Society.
Exactly. And you are the ones who want to go back to that. Stephen Miller is specifically talking about the real problems people, the working class in America, have in 2017. And you fucking idiots are just projecting yourselves onto him, onto the straw man that you want to make of him. I don't know that Stephen Miller isn't a giant raging white supremacist, but I do know that the things he was saying in this press conference were not white supremacy.
No.
And look at this, and they keep using the creepy little Nazi, Stephen Miller. Right,
I've seen that picture before.
Yeah, look at this. Look at this conspiracy theory that they have. Right.
Oh my god, that's hysterical.
Look at this. It's apparently it's the hand gesture there. It's what is this? What is this? Gang photos from the ADL? They think Stephen Miller's part of a black gang? What is this? Absolute nonsense.
Oh my god.
But yeah, I love this. Richard Spencer said he was a mentor to Stephen Miller while they were at Duke together. Let that sink in. It's like, okay, hold on. I don't know that he wasn't, but I do know that Richard Spencer says a lot of things. For example, he was saying that, my channel is a gateway to the alt-right. And it's like, no, you're an idiot, Richard. He's saying that because he knows that it's going to be spread around, it'll spread his name. It's right. There's a Twitter account called Third Position, and it's a guy who used to be a liberal running it. He's a fascist, obviously. I've been following him for a while because he's surprisingly politically aware and educated. And I've had quite a few conversations with him about it. And basically he was like, well, I used to be a liberal, but I think that the only way to save the West at this point is fascism. And I was like, okay, I don't agree. But at least we could have a polite conversation. And I asked him on Twitter, hey, look, do you think the alt-right or my channel, are compatible in any way? Do you think I'm bringing fascism? He's like, look, no. Your channel is a bulwark against people going to the alt-right. If your channel and people like you didn't exist, that would be hundreds of thousands of people who would have nowhere else to go and have nothing else to listen to that wasn't against political correctness and progressivism. And so they would be going to the white ethno-nationalists who are actually like Richard Spencer. But
absolutely. I mean, it's one of my big fears about everything that's been going on is the idea of, the last thing for my position that we need within the United States, and there are plenty of people that disagree with me because they're lunatics, but they want there to be a white identitarian movement in the United States. They actively want
yeah. They and it's all been caused by the regressive left. Yes. And speaking of the regressive left, I love Vox's Stephen Miller couldn't defend a new immigration bill without demeaning the press. Good. Fuck the press. You are cancerous. He personally attacked Jim Acosta and threatened to replace Glenn Thrush with a low-skilled immigrant. That was a clip I didn't get, but he was basically... He literally said, look, if we were letting in people who are competing for your job, Glenn Thrush, then you'd be complaining. That was the point he was making.
That was a New York Times guy.
Yeah, perfectly valid point. But again, just... It's not... They're not addressing the content of what he said. They're not, and they kept saying, like, on MSNBC, like Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough, we're going, well, we didn't know the content of it. It's like, no, he spent like 3 minutes at the beginning of the speech, the press conference, explaining what was going to happen. It was going to be a points-based system. It was going to be based on whether you can speak English, whether you got a job, or you're going to be able to get a job, and you'll get extra points based on your education level and all that sort of stuff. He explains it quite clearly. It's not that he didn't explain it. It's that they don't want to listen, and they just want to hear, oh, well, he's attacking the press. Oh, he's attacking immigrants. Oh, and it's just the press is just out of control. They're just lunatics, and I think it's because they're in an echo chamber.
Well, it's also, I would say, it has part to do with Obama's legacy, that they want Obama to be seen, even though it's completely contradicted by his policies. They want Obama to be seen as this great, fair-minded and warm-hearted person that opened the doors of America to all the immigrants of the world, and nothing happened as a direct result of it.
Yeah.
And they want it. I mean, if they had the ability, they would bring in twice as many as what's her face in Germany, Merkel. They would Merkel this country if they could. That's what they want.
Oh, they absolutely would.
With Obama gone, there's no way it's going to happen now.
No, especially as Trump's policies are, of course, the direct opposite. But yeah, this whole thing has been hilarious for me to watch. I can't believe Trump didn't put Stephen Miller up first. Why bother with Sean Spicer? He looks like a sweating pork hawk who had no idea what to say in any way, shape or form, and he got shredded by the press. Why let that happen? Why not just put Stephen Miller out there from the start? He handled these people like a pro.
I guess maybe they didn't know how he would do. Like, maybe they were worried that he's too much of a wonk or whatever to be able to manage it. But it seems as though, he was...
he nailed it.
Yeah, he did very well. And I would imagine that so long as he's well informed and they have some time to, come up with the talking points and the rest that they're going to do before they even head out to the press, that, he'd probably do well against them. Because I've never seen... I haven't always paid attention to the press briefings and all that. I have watched some in the past with Obama and that, but they seem to be completely out of control now.
Oh, they're just on the attack. That was the thing about that guy. He was constantly interrupting. He wasn't looking for an answer. He was looking to win the... Yeah.
You didn't get to the part where the black woman just started shouting over everyone, demanding an answer.
Yeah, they're looking to fight them. They're not in any way looking to do any kind of, I wouldn't even say objective reporting. They're not even doing subjective reporting. They're looking to push their narrative and attack the administration. That's all they're doing at this point. And they the cover they give themselves, we're holding them to account. And it's like, no, you're not really holding them to account. You're just being really angry and contrarian because you lost. Let's be honest.
Yes, absolutely. It's so aggravating to me because the modern day press, the only time, and this is I've seen it, and everyone I'm sure is aware of this because it was a big deal when it happened. When Trump ordered that strike against Syria, that happened. I believe it was.
Yeah, they fawned. They fawned over him.
It immediately overnight they turned and they started propping him up, and it's because all of you fucking cocksuckers are just dick sucker mouthpieces for the military-industrial complex. Yeah. That's all you are. Like you have no integrity. You have no core. You have no principles. You don't care about anything but some bourgeois things that you might talk about with your friends in fucking literally.
Oh, it's all ego stroking bullshit.
Yeah. Virtue signaling, but when it comes to any of the real shit that has to do with corruption, whether it has to do with scandals, whether it has to do with the Pentagon, whether it has to do with the CIA, any of the real shit, you guys just rely, you fall back on previous reporting from fucking eons ago that occurred. And at this point in time where corruption is, I would say, more rampant than ever before, they don't give a shit about any of it.
They benefit from it. That's why.
Yes.
They're part of the corruption, and they know it. Yeah. And that's why they want to talk about silly things like this. But anyway, I've got to wrap it up now. So thanks for joining me, man. And this whole thing has just been hilarious.